Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Jim Johnson. I am the project manager and line editor for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game and the Captain's Log solo role-playing game, both published by Modiphius Entertainment. I am here with a new video for you. This one's going to be all about taking one of our many mission briefs and adapting them for use in Captain's Log. So if you've been following the line for a while, a couple years back we started producing these mission briefs, which are basically one-page high-level outlines of a Star Trek mission that you can use in your stories, no matter what era of play, no matter what civilization or polity you are playing as. They can all be adapted for use as needed. Of course, our conceit is that the vast majority of our players and games are going to be Starfleet focused, but we have published a bunch of mission briefs from the Klingon perspective in a variety of products and in standalone adventures and in mission brief packs. Mission brief packs are available for freezies on our website. You can go download them anytime you want. They are a nice little bonus gift for our fans because we love you and we appreciate your support, and free content never sucks, right? Because even if you hate it, guess what? It didn't cost you anything. So there are just tons of different mission briefs out there. We've got at least 200 mission briefs, 200 one-pagers that you can use as a high-level outline, drop them right into your Star Trek Adventures game as a story for your group, or you can just drop it right into Captain's Log and use it as a starting point or framework for a story that you're going to tell. These are similar in a lot of respects to the mission prompts that we cut from Captain's Log, but which we then provided in a supplemental PDF as part of the download package. So you can check out those mission prompts. They are very similar to mission briefs. But in the case of the mission briefs, again, every mission brief is one-page high-level outline, provides you a synopsis, a bunch of scene potential, some minor beats that you can build in, an opening log entry, and then what happens next, right? Some ideas on what happens next, or what the resolution of that story is. And this video is very similar in some respects to the video I just did recently about taking a full-blown standalone adventure through Captain's Log, how to adapt it to Captain's Log. This is probably going to be a shorter video, mostly because by virtue of the fact that mission briefs are a lot shorter than standalone adventures, right? Standalone adventures usually range from 12 to 20 pages, give or take, approximately 8 to 10,000 words, and a mission brief is one page, maybe 500 to 700 words at most, but we are constrained to some extent by the fact that we can only fit so many words on one laid out page of content, and I have been intentional about making sure that mission briefs hold to that one page format, because I have a vision that somewhere out there somebody has printed off a whole bunch of these and organized them by suggested spotlight role, so that if I'm a game master and I come to a game session and all of a sudden the character that isn't there or that I had intended to focus on that evening is gone, like for instance, say I'm running a medical heavy episode and my chief medical officer can't show up, my chief medical officer player can't show up. Well, guess what? I've got 3 other players here. I got the tactical officer, I've got the engineer, I got the captain here. I knew I just did an engineering episode, so maybe I want to do a captain episode. Hey, I'll go through that binder, find all the captain episodes, read the synopses, read the opening entry log, and go, oh, boom, here it is. Grab that mission brief. I'm off and running with my story. That's what I would do in Star Trek Adventures. And then in a similar respect, that's the same thing you can do with Captain's Log. Is if you are wanting to have a little bit of help to get a story started, or just to have a framework in front of you, or even if maybe you've read a mission brief and you say, ooh, this is a really cool story, I want to take this and blow it out into a full-blown Captain's Log adventure, do it. Totally do it. Because basically what you've got here is a high-level outline that you could almost say was already pre-built by using a lot of the probability matrix material. Now, even though there's not necessarily a one-to-one match of the value, the line entries, like each column of content in the Captain's Log probability matrices don't always necessarily map one-to-one to what's actually in these mission briefs, but in a lot of cases they probably do, because it's consistent content. But anyway, all that being said, if you find an adventure, like in this example, I'm using the mission brief pack number 3 which is called Anomalies. This was written by Al Spader. I think this was one of Al's first contributions to Star Trek Adventures a couple years ago. It was very exciting to have him on board, have him involved. And so this mission brief is called Time Lost. Suggested era of play is next gen. Suggested spotlight role would be the captain or the XO. You can certainly change that as needed just by changing the circumstances, changing some of the focus. And of course, if you're using this in Captain's Log, you would be expected to change the focus onto your character, whatever role they happen to play. So you would just start. My recommendation would be to grab that mission brief. Set up your template, set up your mission brief, whatever it is you like to do to write down notes. Have your Captain's Log book nearby handy with all the probability matrices that you're going to use, and then just get started. And then, the synopses will give you a sense of the inciting incident, the mission you're on, the parameters around it. It might even suggest, to some degree, what kind of directives you might have to work with if you choose to add a directive, as well as your character's values. And look, hey, every single mission brief has an opening log entry. So just like in Captain's Log, where we encourage you to gather a bunch of details and data from the probability matrices and start building out, what is this mission, what am I on, why does it matter, what NPCs am I involved with, etc., etc., etc. You take that, and in Captain's Log, you're encouraged to write an opening log entry to kind of set things up heading into the cold open before the theme music, and then you get into Act 1 proper. So here you are. You get your opening log entry. You can take it as is, or take it and adapt it for use with your character. We talked about this in the video about adapting a standalone adventure to Captain's Log, and you're doing basically the same thing here, because you've got that opening log entry that's helping you get kind of a starting point to your story. You can just drop that right into your draft as you go. And then every mission brief is also divided up into major beats, so like major story beats that are going to happen or could happen, and minor beats, like little subplots, little interstitial things that you can fold in, smaller moments that might have an impact on the whole, or smaller moments that might add a lot of texture to your story. I think you've seen this plenty of times in Star Trek, where little subplots are happening, and sometimes the subplots relate directly to the A plot, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're just there. And sometimes they act as foreshadowing for a future story, or they just add color and texture, and they weave in and out of the A plot and the B plot, sometimes even a C plot if you want to. But anyway, so these high-level major beats, this could almost be your act structure, right? Act 1 could be temporal cascade. Things happen. Your character's getting stuck up in a tree. Act 2, alone in the river. Oh, now we're throwing rocks at him. Things are getting worse. Things are getting weird. Things are happening. The chronoton, in this case, the chronoton wave is potentially getting worse. Now what's happening? Now and then, more stuff happens. To what end? Now what's happening? Now they discover minor modifications have been done. The crew has to determine who's on the ship to create chronotons. Why are they doing this? What's happening? And then they find out, oh, here's what's happening. And then you can add in your minor beats into the story, just if you want to add more texture. This is just another case of where you would go into those probability matrices in Captain's Log, start rolling on some of that stuff, start adding in that detail, start adding in more nuances, more stuff. Usually there are some key non-player characters introduced in the mission brief, and those are non-player characters that you can drop right into Captain's Log and use as foils for your character, or as support for your character, or just as interesting color in your scenes and your story. So all that's laid out for you as well. And then every mission brief includes a notional conclusion. In this case, the main non-player character doesn't want her work to affect others, and she can be convinced to turn the device off. Well, how does your character convince them to turn the device off? Does that mean you're leaning into a value of one of your character's values? Does it mean you're leaning into the directives of the mission if you chose to set them up? Could this be a prime directive issue? Maybe you pull that into it. A lot of options here just to start playing with, and maybe this is even a place where you lean into the yes/no probability matrix, right? As you're working through this, maybe you get to the end of the mission brief adventure, and maybe you're not sure what your character would do. That's an opportunity for you to lean into that probability matrix and make something happen. And then we always close mission briefs with a little blurb about how to add the mission to your campaign. If you didn't already have ideas on how to do it, it could be, it just gives you a little bit of guidance on how you could position this episode, and then also how you can build on it once it's done. If you have continuing stories that you want to tell, if there's other mission briefs that perhaps link to it. In some cases, some of our mission briefs are written as linked adventures, especially in like the some of the mission brief packs, but also in the Shackleton Expanse campaign guide. There are 46 mission briefs in that book, along with 10 full-blown adventures. Plus there's the 16 adventures from the Living campaign that are related to the Shackleton Expanse. All that story, all that stuff, all those mission briefs could be linked together along with the 10 adventures in that book if you wanted just a big epic scope story. But the point being, there are different mission briefs out there that are linked loosely or even more concretely, especially if you look at the new Starfleet Academy mission brief set that Michael Duxbury wrote recently, and we brought out. All those mission briefs are linked, and progressing your character from stage to stage as a cadet, up to where they finally graduate and get promoted to ensign or Lieutenant JG. So you can play with that too. But anyway, again, I was pretty confident this would be a short video. I think just bottom line here, using a mission brief is going to be a great way for you to kind of jumpstart a captain's log adventure. And it could potentially save you some time because you've already got the bare bones of the story here. What you'll be doing is adding your character, your own perspectives, your character's perspectives, your character's choices into how this rolls out. This could be used maybe if you got Captain's Log and you're still a little, and you've read through it, and you're still a little bit unsure on how to actually build a mission. Grab any of the mission brief packs because they're free. And grab a mission brief that you look at the 100 and 200, how many mission briefs. Again, of course, now that's kind of potentially overwhelming, right? So that's why we do try to group the mission briefs into topics. So this one's all about spatial anomalies. There's one about trade agreements. There's one about star-based adventures, etc. The Lower Decks campaign guide has a bunch of mission briefs in it that are specifically oriented toward Lower Decks characters. And so on and so forth. Like the Discovery campaign guide has Discovery era mission briefs for both Federation and Klingon. The Klingon core book has a whole bunch of mission briefs specifically from the Klingon perspective. You get the idea. I'm not trying to push product at you. I'm just telling you that there are a lot of resources out there if you want to use them. You don't have to, but especially with the mission brief packs, they're free. It's free story. It's free material for you to use. By all means, go ahead and use it. If you want to introduce somebody to Captain's Log and you want to show them how easy and how fun it is to play an episode, grab a mission brief, show them how to adapt it, and then just let them run with it. Just tell them, okay, this is going to happen next. Plug in your character. What would your character do when this happens? Roll on the probability matrices, add more detail, add more nuance to your story, and all of a sudden you've got a whole new version of Time Lost that is uniquely suited to your character. And I guarantee if 10 different people took Captain's Log and this mission brief, you would come up with 10 completely different stories. I'm confident. I'm confident of it. And it's not that I want to challenge you to do it, but that's just what I'm thinking is all these mission briefs are like the baseline. And anybody who takes it and expands upon it is going to create their own amazing story. And that's the stuff I can't wait to read. So I hope this has been useful. I think I've pretty much beat this to death here, so I don't know that I have a whole lot more to add other than I'm encouraging you to use these tools as much as possible. Bend them, fold them, spindle them, mutilate them, take all the best bits out of them that you want to, and use them in your stories. Create some amazing Captain's Log adventures and storylines, and then find a way to share them so that we can all enjoy them too. But in the meantime, I hope you have fun with this. Any questions or comments at all on this, drop them into the comments down below, or reach out to me on social media. I'm not hard to find. Happy to listen to your questions, and let's throw ideas around. If you've got ideas or if you got more questions, do that. Anyway, so drop comments down below. Like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. I'm grateful to all my subscribers. I had no idea that you would even bother subscribing, so thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. doing it for the love. I'm not monetizing my channel. I'm just doing it for the love of Star Trek and Star Trek Adventures, and the love of giving something to people that they can go be creative with and be amazing storytellers, because it's all in your head. I'm going to help you pull it out if you haven't been able to yet. So anyway, that's it for this one. I'll be back with more soon, I'm sure. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great time, and I will talk to you all next time.